Out of the Mets' 5 starting pitchers, here's going to be my opinion on each and every single one of them. So first we have Jose Shitana, also known as Jose Quintana. However, I call him Jose Shitana, and I will continue to do that until he stops playing like shit. Now, Jose Quintana really came to my attention in a May 10th loss against the Atlanta Braves, where after the Mets caused the Braves to grind into a double play to get the first 2 outs, he allowed a 461-foot home run, which is a very long home run. Then he allowed another home run that was over 100 feet shorter, but still a home run, even though I thought it went foul. It didn't. And then allowed a walk before another home run, putting the Mets behind 4-0. Considering they lost 4-2, if Quintana did not have this major third inning implosion, it seems very probable that the Mets would have won the game, or at the very least, sent the game into extra innings. They were unable to do that, however, because of Jose Quintana's meltdown. But after that, Quintana wasn't great, but then the Mets weren't great. And in June, Quintana actually pitched pretty well. Quintana was the whole reason why the Mets were even in the game on July 4th against the Nationals in that 1-0 loss. He kept the Mets in it the whole time and was probably the best Met on that day in that loss. However, Quintana eventually showed his ugly colors when, after doing so well for so long, he ran out of steam and was the big reason why the Mets lost on July 14th to the Rockies. And that'll be a bad omen of things to come, as Quintana has just shit the bed continuously throughout the month of August. His ERA for the month of August is up to 10.19. And Quintana seems to be this kind of inconsistent pitcher, but right now he's playing so garbage. Any Quintana start, you can pretty much deem to be an auto loss, unless the Mets, can score like 15 runs, or again, unless proven otherwise. And these are only starting pitchers I'm ranking. Then you have Sean Manaea. Manaea is in this interesting pattern of where he seemed to do really well until he falls off. And today was a perfect example where where through 5.2 he had a perfect game. And people thought at the camp that Manaea could potentially have a perfect game, or at the very least a no-hitter. Well, then he hit someone by a pitch and allowed a home run to tie up the game. And even though Mark Vientos added another home run and Manaea started into the 8th inning, he immediately allowed another single and was taken out and earned another earned run when that person was sent back home on a sacrifice fly, even though Bito definitely did not do his job either. In any case, Manaea did not pitch very well today, despite starting off strong. He eventually had an implosion, and that implosion would have been very embarrassing for the Mets if not for the fact that Jesse Winker was able to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. But again, Manaea was unable to earn a win because of his implosion. Manaea is this pitcher who's sometimes good, but he's also sometimes bad, as he does allow home runs a lot and isn't perfect. So overall, Manaea is pretty good, but is he the best Mets pitcher? I don't know. After Manaea, you have Luis Severino. Severino is in this very interesting category as well, where basically against the Marlins he pitches really well, and against everyone else he pitches horribly. I'm just kidding. But Severino is this inconsistent kind of pitcher who, sometimes pitches really well and will hold it and will shut out the other team, hold them to a very few amount of runs, and other times he'll just let the floodgates open. Like July 15th when he had 7 earned runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Severino pitched very well to start off the game as the Mets took a 2-0 lead. However, he immediately made it 2-2, and eventually the Pirates led 4-2, and he loaded the bases before getting pulled for Jake Diekman, who allowed a home run. But Severino still earned 3 of those runs. I mean, he pitched horribly in that, and was a big reason why the Pirates were able to have a franchise record 7 home runs in a single game as they scored 14 runs and clobbered the Mets. Now, is Severino, always garbage? Absolutely not. There are games where Severino can pitch pretty well, but his game against the Astros certainly wasn't pretty. He seems to be this really inconsistent kind of pitcher who you never know what you're going to get. Because again, he did throw the Mets' first complete game shutout in 3 years against the Marlins, but his last 3 starts before then, terrible. He was able to shut out the Marlins when he pitched right after the All-Star break. But again, there's just so much inconsistency surrounding Severino. Sometimes he pitches pretty well, sometimes he completely craps the bed. And that's why I have a hard time saying he's the best Mets pitcher or the worst Mets pitcher, because he's so goddamn inconsistent. Like with a Manaea start, there's a good chance you're going to win the game. With a Quintana start, there's a very good chance you're going to lose the game as of right now. Obviously, what the offense does matters too. With a Severino start, you just don't know who's going to win that game. Then the next person you have is Paul Blackburn. Paul Blackburn, the Mets acquired from the Athletics, and so far has been pretty good, even though he's only earned 1 win and 1 loss, plus 1 no decision. His loss came against his former team, the Athletics, which is pretty understandable. He had a very good Mets debut, only allowing 1 run in the game against the Los Angeles Angels. And, even in the game against the Rockies, against the Rockies, where he got a no decision because the Mets completely balled out in the top of the 9th. He still pitched well. He still held the Rockies to just 2. And in the game against, in the most recent game against the Marlins, yes, they lost under the Paul Blackburn start, but Blackburn wasn't responsible for the loss. He held the Marlins to just 1, and the bullpen caved in, the offense collapsed, and the Mets were very unlucky and got outplayed by the Marlins defense. But still, Blackburn, he's pretty solid. Peterson, I think, might be the biggest fraud in the MLB. Peterson should not be as good as he is. He has a noted ability of getting himself out of jams, like when he loads the bases with 0 outs, but somehow does not allow a single run, or only allows 1 run on a sacrifice fly. That's the kind of wizard magic of Peterson. However, Peterson is bound to, at points, have major implosions. Peterson is bound to, eventually allow a home run ball, eventually, screw up. And when you are allowing so many walks and hits, you better be able to get yourself out of jams, and that's very shaky. So I think Peterson might actually be the biggest fraud in the MLB. As of now, he seems to be the Mets' ace, but this is very unsustainable. Again, the Mets are going to be without Kodai Senga until at least the playoffs, if they even make it there. Maybe he'll come back for the final season against Milwaukee, but I highly doubt it. Christian Scott, I don't know when he's coming back, but Christian Scott is also really bad and has not earned a single win with the Mets. Thank God that McGill was optioned back to AAA, because he is horrible and Blackburn is better than him in every single way. And those are my current thoughts on the Mets. The Mets just won a critical series against the Orioles with 2 walk-offs, so hopefully this can turn momentum back around as they now have to make a big upwards climb back into the playoffs. The Mets go to San Diego and they play the Padres, and then they get an off day before having to play the Diamondbacks. And after that, the schedule is not getting easier for the Mets. Yes, they get to play teams like the White Sox and the Blue Jays and beat up on those bad teams, but they also got to play really good teams. They got to play the Red Sox, who are going to be contending for a playoff spot. They got to play the Phillies twice. They got to play the Braves, the Brewers. There's a lot of tough teams for the Mets coming up. I know I predicted them to be 88-74 at my midseason video, which I don't know if I took it down. But considering the state of the Mets, how they're way behind where I thought they were going to be. Because I thought that by this point, the Mets would already be 10 above 500 at least. Considering how they've, fallen well behind schedule, I thought they were going to take 2 out of 3 from the Angels. I thought they would sweep the Rockies. I thought they would win the series against Seattle. So that's already 4 losses I thought wins. I think I might have had the Mets losing the series to the Orioles. They won, but that's only going to save you 1 game. Again, the Mets are not putting themselves in a good position. They got to somehow get up there, not only with the Braves, but also against teams in the NL West contending for the number 1 overall seed.